Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode here in NHL 23. So in last episode, we had round 2 up against the Colorado Avalanche again, and unfortunately we lost the series, and there is definitely some concern with this team in the playoffs at least. But I mean, we still had a successful playoffs in a sense that Asher Vance was still doing good, but we should have technically been a team to win a Stanley Cup this year, but unfortunately lost to the best team in the West. As you can see, Colorado went on to face Montreal in the Stanley Cup Finals, and Montreal has turned into a little bit of a dynasty in this franchise mode. They have now won 3 Stanley Cups in the span, I think, of 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. I know they have the 2 and the 5. I'm pretty sure they have a third one, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, they've been just a really dominant team. Oh yeah, there it is. Actually, they've won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 5 years, but you can see they made the Cup Finals 4 times in the last 5 seasons. So Montreal is definitely where we want to be eventually with this team, but Montreal is just too dominant at this point, and I don't know how long it's going to take for Montreal to fall off officially because their top line is just unreal. And then their goaltender in Nedek Pozo is consistently one of the best goaltenders I've ever seen in a playoff scenario. And if we can, maybe bringing him in would be awesome for this team. I don't really know. But Nedek Pozo is unreal, as you can see with his stats during the regular season are pretty good. But then he turns it on completely in the playoffs with a 926 through 62 games. It'd be unreal to have a goaltender like this. Like, that guy is pretty much just like an Aiden Tays was in my Anchorage series. So yeah, it would be nice to have a goaltender that could actually simulate well in the playoffs, but there is that. So before we get into the draft and resign stage, I do have a couple comments from Michael Dost. The first one, he says, Game 7, you have to go with the top goalie. Schiavello is backup for a reason. And I guess I decided to go with Schiavello. The only reason I do that type of thing is because I kind of want to go with like the hot goaltender. If a goalie's not good for a couple of games in a row, then I feel like they need maybe a bit of a break. Like Howden, for example, played a lot of games in the regular season, so he might need more breaks than normal. His regular season numbers, don't get me wrong, are phenomenal. But when he comes to the playoffs, he hasn't been good in a few years, which is not great. Hopefully he could get back to this point where he was posting a 927, because an 876 and an 873 is not great. Like, maybe he makes so much saves during the regular season that he gets kind of tired out by the time the playoffs roll around, and that's why his stats are so bad. I don't really know. But at least we still have him locked up for another 3 more seasons, or 2 more seasons, I should say. And hopefully in those 2 years, he could win us a Stanley Cup. That would be great. If not, Schiavello, who is currently our backup, he's been kind of streaking at times. Like last season, he was phenomenal with a 928. This season, a 900, not as much. But then in terms of the playoffs, you can see his last 2 years, playoff-wise, have been better than not Aiden Tays, what am I saying now because of Aiden Tays, but Howden, whatever Howden's first name is. I can't even remember now at this point, but it might be Aiden Howden. Is it Aiden Howden or no? No, is it? It is. Okay, that's why I thought of Aiden Tays. God damn. And we're in Chicago too, so it makes it even more confusing. But yeah, so Schiavello's had 2 better playoffs than Howden has. So that's probably why I went with that. Also, Michael says, if that's the case, then why ever draft that type of goalie? He won the Vezina once, almost twice. I would have rolled with him in a Game 7. Plus, I think you're too hard on him sometimes as your defense gives up 40-plus shots in the playoffs. Maybe it's the defense that needs to be fixed. Love the series as a diehard Blackhawks fan, and I appreciate that. And maybe it is the defense. It's really tough to pinpoint a specific thing with this team that needs fixing. As you can see, our defensive core, pretty much everybody's locked up long term. Like, Spiller is an RFA this offseason, so he should be pretty... I'd say he's relatively cheap to bring back. Cartman, he's a depth defenseman we could let go of and bring somebody else back or bring him back. But we do have guys in the system, at least, that are developing, like Tkachuk and Del Monte, for example, who are going to be playing in the AHL next season. So we do have some other options that will eventually get to our defensive core in the NHL, but it's hard to really pinpoint a specific problem with this team. Like, if we go to our playoff stats, I think right now it's maybe still lack of depth scoring, but I don't think that's going to affect the goaltending stats. Because if we look at these playoff numbers, Like, we have a couple guys obviously doing really well. Vance and Reefers. McDavid was doing well too, but he did retire. That's a big thing that happened in last episode. That's unfortunate. But you can see that our second line, Kabanov, Skula, none of them had like really that much goals. Skula didn't score at all, and that's why he was brought in for secondary scoring, and he did not do that in the playoffs. So that's very unfortunate. Kabanov only had the one goal. And you can see the third and fourth line was doing okay in terms of scoring goals, but they were not picking up still a lot of points. So I think the depth scoring is probably the problem on this team. Because from a defensive standpoint, every defenseman on our team was doing pretty well in the playoffs. So, like, even Spiller had a phenomenal playoffs, and hopefully he doesn't want to get paid big bucks this offseason because of that. But 8 points in 13 games and a plus 11 after only having 23 in the regular season. So there is that, and those were the comments I got in the last episode. So let's get into this draft and see what we could go after. I really don't know what we're going to get in this draft because we do not have a lot of picks in it. So I don't know if it's even worth moving up in the draft. Probably not. But you can see we do have our second still. We do have 2/3, a fourth, and a sixth because we did make a lot of trades trying to get this team to being as competitive as possible. And unfortunately for us, that plan really didn't work. It kind of blew up in our face, but I think we're still going to be a really good team next season. It's just all about hopefully having a good replacement for McDavid and then kind of just maintaining this roster. And if this team is, for some reason, if there's any small issues, maybe we should address them at the trade deadline ahead of time before we actually get to the playoffs, because I don't really know why bringing in Skula kind of cost our team a little bit. Like, I felt like he was going to be a good guy to help bring that second line to scoring wise. Like, Vance obviously leads the top line, leads the team usually in goals, but Skula just did not do anything in terms of goal scoring, which is very not good considering he's already like 32, so he might be on the decline soon too, which is also not good considering he's getting paid a lot of money. So anyways, let's get into this draft, and let's see. Do we want to move up in the draft? That's the one question I have. We'd probably move up to a late first round pick, and probably not. There is some guys I pin late first round though. Let me take a look at those pinned guys again that are supposed to go late first round, see if it's worth moving up for. Like, probably some of these guys are top 6 forwards and whatnot, but I mean, we will be able to get a guaranteed medium elite with one of our picks, I think. Yeah, I think I might not even want to move up. Guys, maybe I'll just draft like Bukestad, try and draft Hutton. There's probably some other guys that are supposed to go in other rounds. Bob Morrissey, maybe even. Or even, oh yeah, Grabeshkov even too. So there's definitely some options out there. So I don't think I'm going to try and move up. I just rather try and keep this team as is and make do with what picks we have. So let's take a look at this top 5 of the draft anyways. Carolina, Minnesota, Vegas, Detroit, and in Washington. We'll see what those teams grab. So Carolina at number 1 is going to take a franchise guy. So we didn't know about the top pick in Gardner, but he is a franchise player. He doesn't have any X factors according to this, but he might. If he doesn't have any X factors as a franchise player, that's a little bit weird, but more than likely he does have X factors. We just didn't scout him out at all, which we didn't for sure, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, this guy's a power forward. This guy's going to be a really good goal scorer and probably a competitor up there in goal scoring with Vance and a couple other guys like Sylvain Parks, I think, is usually up there in goals. Jacina, I guess, considering he just had like a 70-goal season, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there's a really good pick there for the Carolina Hurricanes to maybe turn around their team a little bit. Minnesota's going to take Pollock, a 79 overall, Jacob Pollock, two-way forward. Looks pretty good. Vegas at 3 is going to take a 77 defenseman in Robin Schmidt. Medium and late two-way defenseman. Not too bad. Does have some zone abilities. Detroit at 4 is going to take Coburn, who's a 76. Yeah, this draft class might not be that good considering these overalls of these elite players. Like, some of them are like AHL bound. Like, I would say the only NHL ready players are Gardner for sure, and then Pollock could play on a 4th line, but these two probably a year out at least. And then Washington at 5 is going to take Gilroy, who's a 77 defenseman. So yeah, these 3 players are pretty much like they're listed as top 6, some of them, so they might end up playing in the NHL, but I would still say they're kind of on the cusp of AHL/NHL defensive cores. So you might want, if you were the team to draft these type of players, you might want to wait a year before actually playing them, or wait a couple games into the AHL season and then they'll start developing a little bit. But there is the top 5 of the draft. Let's simulate to our pick at 57 because I do not really care to move up at all. And we're probably not going to get anything super good, but there is the medium elite goaltender that's supposed to go around this point. He looks pretty good 4 years out at 19. Let me take a look at where we are picking next again so I know for a fact if we could take the goaltender here, because I do want to take that medium elite guy that's supposed to go 99th. So yeah, we will have a pick before him, which is good. So we'll more than likely take him with one of these picks. Yeah, we'll take this goaltender now just for the value. That's why I'm taking a medium elite goaltender. So for value, because we might be able to trade him away at some point. I don't know if this guy's going to be an NHL goalie for us, but if he does, so be it. Apparently he has no weakness. He's got glove hand, angles, and breakaways, whatever that means. Let's take Tayup again. And he's a 61 at 19. That's not too bad. Doesn't have any abilities, but there is his stats. Not that goalie stats really mean much, but hopefully a future starter for this team. Not that we really need more medium elite goaltenders, but better to get some value and maybe use that as trade bait at some point. And now we will probably take that medium elite forward that we had pinned. Yeah, and Bukestad, since he's supposed to go 99th. So yeah, Gale Bukestad, he also has no weakness. He's got good work ethic and maturity and puck control, so I like all of that. He's also 19, so he's also like the same type of boat as that goaltender we just drafted. But still, let's take Gale Bukestad and see how good he is. He's a 59 sniper. Wasn't expecting him to be a sniper, but 59 overall. That shooting category is not good, so he will need quite a bit of development, but he might end up being similar to like Connor Recchi was for us, because they both, I believe, were third-round picks. So there is Bukestad. Looks pretty solid. Or at least he will be one at some point. If not, he's also trade bait because he'll have the value. Next pick at 89. Do we have a player we could take? Oh, Gerbeshkov did just go, and he was also medium elite. Damn. Well, let's hope that Gerbeshkov is not that great. I was debating about taking Gerbeshkov too. We only have one guy pinned to left, and he's not supposed to go to like 7th round, so we'll probably take him. Wait, he's not supposed to go to 218 around, so we could probably take him with our 6th round pick, right? And then take chances on everybody else. Yeah, we'll probably take him with our 6th rounder, which means these 3rd and 4th picks, we're just gonna take some random players and hope that we end up finding a gem out of them. Low top 4 gem though. Hey, and it's a defenseman. 3 years out. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Even if it's a low top 4, I think I would rather take a low 4 than a low 6. This low 6 actually looks pretty good though, but he is 20 years old. So the thing is, if he's 20 years old, there's a higher chance that he's going to be a bust, I'd say, personally. So I think I'm going to go with the low 4 here, unless there's anything else around this point that I missed out on, which I don't think there is. Oh, there's a guaranteed medium 4, but sometimes I find medium 4s in the 4th and 5th round, they don't develop even if they have that potential. So let's give a chance with the low 4 since he's listed as a gem, and we'll see how he is. 62 overall, that's pretty solid starting base, but will he be an NHL defenseman? I'd probably say likely not, but maybe he'll be a good AHL defender. Regardless, there's a solid pick, I guess. And in our next pick, before we make that last pick, well, a low starter. Damn, I don't think I've ever seen a low starter. Yeah, this guy's actually pretty good, too. He's 17 years old, 4 years out. He's got Bs across the board. Jackson Marsh. Yeah, I don't think I've ever drafted a starting goaltender before. It's always been medium starter, medium fringe starter, high fringe starter. I don't think I've ever seen a low starter in a draft. So yeah, let's take this Jackson Marsh guy, even though we don't really need more goaltenders. And yeah, he is a 61 overall at 17 as a low starter. That's a very intriguing pick. Like maybe that guy outgrows that medium elites overall because he's like the same overall at much younger age, but he's got a weirder potential. So I'm very interested to see how good that guy is because maybe this guy's a future goaltender to help win us Stanley Cups. Who knows? Maybe he'll be a good AHL goaltender. Maybe he'll never be signed. It depends on his development path, but I don't mind that pick at all. And in our final pick, we have that last defenseman that's supposed to go in the 7th round, Emiliano Hutton. He's 19 as well. Might be a low elite, which wouldn't be bad. Apparently has good character and work ethic, we know that. But he does have a weakness in teammate utilization, but we'll take him anyways. So let's see how good he is. He is also a low elite, and he's a 69 overall. Wow, that's a lot better overall-wise than I expected. Wow, what a steal there. No X factors, but this guy is probably a year out from making it to the NHL, so we just got ourselves another great defenseman to go with, like Kachuk and all that. Eventually, we'll have to start trading away defensemen on our team in order to get these type of guys in, but that's a great pick. I know he's a bit of an overager, but at the same time, he is ready for the AHL pretty much at this point. He can't play in the AHL just yet, I don't think, because he played in the QMJHL, but I do really like that pick, and I think we had a good draft, considering the lack of picks we had in the draft. So there is the draft. So we got Tayupigan, the medium elite goaltender. We got Bukestad, the medium elite forward. We got Malik, who is the low 4. Yeah, and then we got the low starter in Marsh. And then we got ourselves a low elite in Emiliano Hutton, who would have been a 7th round pick otherwise, which is insane considering his starting overall. So pretty good draft for us. I do like that quite a bit. Now comes the resign stage, where I don't know how much money we're going to have. We do need to re-sign Anze Kopitar. That's an interesting one. I will be bringing him back, but I don't know if we should look for a new head coach, because he did win us one Stanley Cup, but the last few years have been not as good since. But let's give him a decent chunk of change. He's Anze Kopitar after all. We do need to resign him for now. We could always look for other coaching options in next episode as well. So that should get it done. 5 years at 5,265. We'll see if he accepts that. Hopefully he does. We also got a lot of scouts to bring back. Jeez. Let's see. There's one. Grigorenko. And yeah, once we get all these scouts back, hopefully we don't have a lot of guys to re-sign, which I'm pretty sure it's mostly Spiller. We got to bring back in some depth pieces, so we should be able to afford, hypothetically, everybody on our team, depending on the cap space. Because obviously losing Connor McDavid kind of helped us in this cap situation, because it freed up like $10 million. Because if we would have had to bring back Connor McDavid again, we would have had to be paying him a lot of money. But he retired, which still is kind of unfortunate because he was setting up Vance for a lot of goals. So I'm hoping that Vance doesn't take a step back because McDavid is gone. So there is that. Let's get to this re-sign stage and see what we're working with. 16 million in cap space. Yeah, we don't have a lot of cap space at all. I maybe should have freed up some cap space, but we'll probably qualify all our RFAs. Damn, Adamski doesn't want a lot of money at all. I might as just, well, give him that. Spiller, on the other hand, I can't give him $5 million yet. He still should have a couple years of RFA status, right? Yeah, 2 years. Let's qualify all the AHL guys, because they'll all accept on two-way deals, which is good. Some of them are very close to being NHL already, which is also kind of nice. I think I'm going to give Adamski to 850K. There's no reason not to. So we'll give him that. We'll definitely qualify Spiller. And then we'll head over to our UFAs, where the biggest UFA is Carton. See, like, literally, we set ourselves up for some pretty good success in that sense. We are going to have to let go of some AHL players to get some of these younger guys in. So I am going to sign this low lead in Parker Burish. And I am going to let go of one of the players in the AHL, at least. I'm going to let go of Kagerodov, just because we don't need him anymore. I'm going to also sign this low lead in Del Monte, who's growing good. Vasakis as a low 7th is kind of growing decently, but I don't really know if it's useful to bring him in. He does actually have some really good stats for an OFD. For a low 7th, his offensive awareness and his passing are pretty good. So, you know what? We're going to sign this guy as well, just as an extra number. This guy, on the other hand, we're not going to sign. He's not going to make it. Nesbitt, when did we draft this dude? 4th round, enforcer. It's kind of an interesting one, but I don't know if he's really worth signing. We are going to sign this low lead. We're going to sign most of our low leads because obviously low leads are important. I am going to let go of this guy though, and this guy too, because they aren't really developing. I'm kind of curious to sign the enforcer, but he's already 21, so I don't think he's really going to do much. I don't know if he's going to become an NHLer. Probably not. He's going to be probably more of an AHL enforcer. I'm going to let him go. I just don't think there's any room for him. And since we're signing multiple defensemen, Who is the oldest defenseman in the AHL? It is currently Brunstrom and stuff like that. We are going to let go of Pace, who we brought in from Colorado. And we're also going to let go of Nichols. Kind of clear up the AHL defense score a little bit. We could always bring some of these guys back. Brunstrom, I do like that AHL defenseman a bit. Schwartz, he wants a two-way deal. Do we have the room? Yeah, we do. Okay, let's bring him in. Let's bring Schwartz and Brunstrom in for the AHL for 1 year only. And we'll also bring Knighty in for 1 more year in the AHL. And then Kartinen as a depth defenseman, I'm not too sure on. Tukio is a UFA. Let's, do we need to re-sign Tukio? I don't feel like we do. Because we have so much goaltenders. Like, we have Howden Scavello probably for the NHL if we re-sign Scavello. We'd have Huey and Blackburn in the AHL. And then on the cusp of coming to the AHL, we have Marsh, Tyupkin. Yeah, I think it's time to let go of Tukio, unfortunately. He's been a really solid AHL goaltender, but he's not getting that playing time anymore pretty much. So yeah, we're going to let go of Topi Tukio here. We might bring him back at some stage, but I don't really think we need him. And then Scavello and Kartinen are the last two. Yeah, we have definitely the cap space to bring everybody back, which is nice. But Scavello wants 1.7 as a backup for 1 year. Let's do it. I know it's Scavello, but let's bring him back again. We could always try and find another backup goalie in free agency, but let's try and get him back at least for now. And then Kartinen as a depth defenseman, 1.8 is not really terrible. I don't think. Do we need him is the question, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Currently, he is a top 6 defenseman on this team. We do need to free up, I guess, some cap space to find a replacement for McDavid. And also finding ourselves a better top 6 defenseman. So, I think for now we're going to let go of Kartinen, but we honestly might bring him back. So, we'll let him walk. And, yeah, then bringing everyone else here back should be good. I think we should be able to get everybody back here with the cap space we have. I do not have enough budget to sign Kopitar back, but I will try and offer him a contract again here before we end this episode. So I do not know why we don't have the budget to bring him back, but we will once we head to free agency, I guess. I just know that Kopitar is an important coach for this team. Okay, so everybody accepted, it looks like. Yeah, everybody on the UFA front accepted. RFA-wise, Spiller is like the biggest one, and then the rest of these guys are going to be signing two-way deals. So Spiller is going to take a decent amount of money, probably like $4 million, my guess, which will leave us with $12 million or so to get ourselves a top 6 defenseman, because we only have 5 pretty much. We also kind of need a depth defenseman. I actually should write down this so then I kind of know for next episode, because or else you guys are going to have to remind me. So let's write down what we need here. We will need a top 6 D, and we'll also need 1 depth defenseman. We definitely don't need any forwards, I'd say, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 is Zubris, 5, 6, also Gustafson's very close, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, we have way too many forwards. I think we might have to eventually trade away some people. So forwards we're good. We're good goaltending wise as well. Yes, Scavello did accept, which is great. So actually, wait a sec. We don't need a top 6 defenseman, do we? Because I didn't include Spiller into that mix. Or no, I did include Spiller into that mix. Okay. So we do need a top 6 defenseman, a depth defenseman, and that's pretty much almost all we need. We could bring in a forward to bolster our team more, but we'd probably have to trade away a younger guy. Because right now we have Reefers, Vance, Recchi, Skula. Skula's dropping off hard. He's down to an 84 now. Trading away him would free up cap space, but he is signed for only 1 more season after this upcoming year. So it's not the worst contract in the world, but I really hope he kind of picks it up a little bit. We are going to need a lot of cap space still for next offseason for Recchi, Kabanov, Brigley. So, yeah, somebody on this team will probably have to get moved out in order to bolster our top 6 a little bit more if we want to find a replacement for McDavid. It's just who is the one that we're going to move out. Because we have so many guys. Because I would like to be playing Weeks, Zubris, Martins next season. There's also that medium league that might be on the cusp of the NHL. So guys like Patterson, for example, guys like Ziska, Damsky, Corrado, Brigley, Bales, some of those guys might be on the chopping block. Also, I don't know why Kabanov's down to an 83, but yeah, there definitely needs to be some sort of change in order to get the younger guys into the lineup, I'd say. So there is that. Let's take a look at what is available in terms of free agency, and I'll already go and offer Kopitar a contract extension again, because for some reason we didn't have the budget, but I thought budget didn't really matter. Unless it's more when free agency hits, you don't really have to care about the budget. Some of our RFAs are already accepting, which is also good. We will go back to hire coaches here and try and get Kopitar back. No other teams are interested in him, which is great. I know we don't have technically the budget, but we will try and get Kopi to sign here. Let's get him to sign. I apparently still don't have the budget, I don't think, but oh damn, there's a straight A coach. 63% scheme fit. How's Kopi? 61. This guy probably has interest from a lot of other teams though, my guess, right? Minnesota only. Who does this guy work with out of curiosity? He's a forward coach. He works well with reefers, not so much with Vance. I don't like that. You have to work with Vance to be a good coach for my team. You have to work with Vance. Yeah, this guy doesn't either. See, I don't think we're going to be changing our coach, but that's interesting. Sean Couturier. 64%, huh? That's interesting. If we can't afford Kopitar back, maybe bringing in Couturier would be okay. I don't know why he's focused on defense, though. It's weird. I get that he was a good two-way forward, but still. And then Victor Hedman's a forward coach. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to change coaches, but hopefully we can get Kopitar back. But let's take a look at what's available free agency-wise that we could find for replacement for Connor McDavid if we have the cap space. So let's start off with centers and see what the best available is. The best available is this Barnett guy. Now, do we really need a center? We probably need more of a winger than anything. There is Fabian Barnett. Joe Veleno. Not really a whole lot out there actually for centers. Like Barnett's good, but the rest of them are kind of like third liners, second/third liners. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna really need to sign any forwards. We could always make a trade to get a better one. So we'll take a look at the block after this due. See what there is out there. There we go. Defensively, because we do need a top 6 defenseman. The best defenseman out there is the guy that actually went, I think, yeah, this is the guy that went first overall before Asher Vance. And, yeah, he's not had, obviously, as good of a career, but he is a solid DFD. But, obviously, we don't need to bring in an 89. Our former defenseman in Datsuk is there. That's kind of funny. Let's see. We're looking for a top 6 defenseman. So somebody like Visakis is a bit too expensive as a top 6. I'm kind of looking for a cheap top 6 option. Oh, there we go. This Pope guy. Pope would be pretty solid. He was a 40th overall pick. He might be the best option for us. Doesn't really get a lot of playing time. Is listed as a top 4, which I don't understand why he is, but he only wants 1.7. There's also Staples. Jose Staples. So yeah, those two guys would be nice cheap options for the top 6 defensive role, and then we need a depth defenseman, so that's not our former defenseman because that's an older guy. And then if we wanted to find ourselves a depth defender, there is Steen as a 77. So there is some options out there for depth defensive role and top 6 defensive role. And then goalie-wise, we do not need a goaltender at all, so I won't even focus on that. Let me go back to forwards here. Wow. Former player of us, Kasper Halttunen. It's been a while since I've seen him. Completely forgot about him, to be honest. He is a free agent at 32 years old, but we technically, if we want to bring in somebody for the top 6 to replace McDavid, like I said, we'll have to probably get rid of some younger guys, but let's take a look anyways at what there is. Not really a whole lot, at least there. Left wing wise, there is this Tikhonov guy, which I believe went in the Asher Vance draft as well. Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, he was a little bit after Asher Vance. He's a solid player too, and he is a sniper though. That's the only thing. So do we really need another sniper considering we have Vance and we already have Skula? Like, Tikhonov's got insane shooting categories, but his offensive awareness is a little bit lower. But he would be a great player, but obviously I don't think he really fits into our top 6 with the amount of snipers we already have. So I think what we're going to end up looking at is the trading block instead. I don't think there's really any free agent signings other than the top 6 defenseman and a depth defenseman. Okay guys, so for some reason at this point, again, my Elgato froze. So I looked through the trading block. There is absolutely nothing on the trading block that is warranted bringing in. But I did look through every team afterwards, and I did find a player that I think we will probably try and trade for in next episode. So the player that I have interest in is this Sanders guy. He's an 85 overall at 26, only signed for 2 more years on a decent contract. And yeah, this guy is a very good passer. I'd say he's not the most insane offensive player. Like, he's going to be the replacement for McDavid. So he's not going to probably pick up 100 plus points, but he should be very solid with Asher Vance based on the fact that he's a pure passer mostly, and the fact that he has good offensive awareness, good passing stats, good shooting categories as well, so he should be able to score some goals. I think he'd be a perfect player to play next to Reefers and to Vance as well for our top line. As you can see, also, if we do bring back Anze Kopitar as our head coach, he would probably fit our top line, which is great. So I think this would be a really good player to bring in. And obviously, we'll probably try and trade for him in next episode because Calgary should be willing to make some decent trade with us because we do have like a couple players that are interested. In. Obviously, they're interested in a lot of the roster type players, but we have guys like Zubras that they're interested in. I'm not wanting to trade Zubras, but somebody like, for example, I actually have interest in Skula. He doesn't have a lot of value, but I'm not going to trade Skula. But at least not yet. They do have interest in some guys on the bottom 6, though, like Brigley, for example, who we can move out to get a younger guy in like Martins. So we should be able to easily make a deal with them. They also do want some picks, which we could obviously move some third-rounders if we really want to. But I think we'll easily be able to get a deal done. And then, obviously, our top line will be pretty much set in stone. Obviously, we do still have one RFA holding out in terms of this, or actually 2 RFAs, one of them being Spiller, the other one wanting probably, yeah, 2-way contract, so that's going to be easy to get back. So Spiller would probably take up like $4 million, which means we will have the cap space to bring this guy in, and cap space after the fact, which is good too, because we will need to sign ourselves still a top 6 defenseman and a depth defenseman. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Chicago Blackhawks franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to free agency. We'll probably make a couple signings, like I said, top 6 and depth defensively. And then we'll probably also make ourselves a pretty nice trade to help bolster that top 6 a little bit more again and hope it's enough for our team going forward. Because obviously we're a cap team and we don't have a lot of cap room to make any huge deals with. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.